evening, a very warm welcome back to Online Darts, and here we are, the live lounge returns after a week off. Me, Phill, Bars, Lee Boyce, there's a blank space. We're hoping Dan will be in. He's had a bit of a mare with his laptop. He's left it in a hotel room where he's away from the weekend. So we're hoping Dan can sort something out and join us shortly. We'll be nice to God. We'll say congratulations. It's his anniversary. With Poppy.
He's
taken Poppy out for the night.
Not having any of it. No.
No. It's been a while, everyone. But I hope you've enjoyed the coverage. It's been non-stop, hasn't it, boys?
Yeah, it's been a very, very busy time. And it's now just sort of build up to Blackpool with a few more events teeing us up, and then we go into the actual busy end of the year, and this is just sort of a warm-up to what we've got done in the back end of 6 months. But for some of us, it's been busy doing a lot of the stuff website light, and then for yourself, who's been travelling, I was going to say Europe, but it's actually been all around the world since we was last on. So
yeah, it's been good. The chat room is absolutely packed as always. Matty Edgar was in. It was good that we spent some time in Nienhausen with Matt. He came and jumped on the live stream, which was good. Daniel was in. James, Paddy, James, Jim McEwen, of course. Big Jim is in. Hope you are good. Roddy Pop is in. Yankee Clipper, Carl, Philip. How are we doing? Matthew, Pam is in. Rose, Owen, Bob. Oh, it's rammed already. Malachi, and we've got one happy Juanita. The Aussies did the job at the weekend. We'll come on to that later. Tommy is in as well. Good stuff. Yeah, look, it's been super, super busy. We're going to try and break it down in kind of chronological order the way it happened, although some of it seems a long, long time ago. Look, it's just been absolutely unreal. And look, Frankfurt was great for the World Cup, but oh my God, it wasn't ginger friendly. I genuinely almost died.
Yeah, it has been a bit of a hectic couple of weeks. Phill, just a few comments around the audio as well in the chat room.
They're saying yours low.
Well, one say audio generally, so it might be both of us.
2 seconds.
But yeah, while you're looking at that, it has been hectic, and I dropped you a little message about an hour ago looking at the order we was going to plan tonight's show, and that was just because I was looking back at some games and I was thinking, was that really in the last 2 weeks? It feels a lot longer considering what happened this weekend.
Absolutely nuts. But look, loved every single minute of it. Evening, Jason, how are we doing? Nice to have the washing machine back. Yeah, there she is in the background. All good. So it's all good. I just played with the audio. Can someone let us know if that's better? Turn this up a little bit. Right, so hopefully, like we say, Dan will join us. So we'll jump. Too loud. Audio is good. Better. No, audio-wise. Audio is good. How are we doing, Connor? Good to see you in Nienhausen, buddy. Right, let's crack on. We're going to go all the way back, and this seems an absolute eternity ago that the Nordic Darts Masters happened. So it seems a long time ago, this World Series event, boys. Going into it, Michael Smith blitzed America, so he was favourite, or one of the favourites going into it. But round one, I'll tell you what as well, from the World Cup and this, Vladimir Anderson is an absolute fruitcake. Absolute fruitcake. There was just 4 edits to the Danish interview when they won in round one.
Just 4?
Yeah, he likes dropping an F-bomb or 2.
So do a few other players, as we're well aware, Mr. Bars. I'm sure he's not the first to give you 4 edits.
Yeah. But yeah, right. So round 1, Michael Smith kicked off against Vladimir Anderson. No, this was clear cut. Job done. Thank you very much. Then Fallon Sherrick beat Darius Levanauskas. Look, there's a whole host of missed doubles in this one, Boise. But look, Fallon, she's doomed if she does, doomed if she doesn't. She loses, she gets slated. She wins, she gets slated.
Yeah, we seem to always have to have a little bit of a snippet in the show to talk about social media, and sometimes it does brilliant things. And I'd probably say after last night's result, which we'll come on to later on, done brilliant things. I thought social media, there's so much positivity. However, this event, we saw the negative side of it because there was so much. Even going back to like Murph's post, Murph was getting absolutely slated. But actually, what Fallon did was go up and win a game of darts. She didn't do anything different than a lot of the players did in this first round. It wasn't a great first round for a lot of the players. But actually, when you look at the players in it, the player you wanted to avoid, or probably it'd be Darius or Madas Razma. Fallon actually drew Darius and got a job done very convincingly. If Darius is going to miss darts, that's nothing to do with the opponent. That's him missing darts and not being able to handle the pressure. Fallon was very, very disappointing. I'm sure she said so herself in New York. She came then to the Nordic Darts Masters where he's dotted the history, and she stepped up to the plate with a 6-1 win. Wasn't a great performance, wasn't the best performance by far, but in the end, it was job done. It's just a shame that we have the knock-on effect when Fallon does win.
Yeah, look, New York, I'm not sure if we said it, there was a massive reason behind the performance as well. Look, I won't say it unless she comes out and says it, but anyone that was in New York knows there was a huge reason behind it. But that's down to if she wants to say, then she will. But again, she averages 80 and wins. James Wade averaged 80 in the World Cup and nothing was said. But it's just, it's one of those.
It's frustrating from someone who enjoys the game, has my favourite players, have my least favourite players. But just if one of my least favourite players goes on and does something well, it doesn't mean I have the right to go and abuse or... The criticism of a player isn't a bad thing. Criticising someone is never a bad thing, as long as there's rationale behind it. But from what I've seen, there just wasn't a lot there. And for me, like I says, I think Fallon done a fantastic job getting over the line after a disappointing result with whatever else happened in New York. Just on the stage, a very disappointing result in New York, to then come back the week after, which, from what I can remember, she's not had back-to-back weeks on a PDC stage. So to come back then the week after, very quickly turn around, to then come back and then put in a performance to beat Darius Levanauskas 6-1, for me is a very, very impressive win.
Yeah, and we'll talk about her in the quarterfinals more in a minute. But then Gerwen Price, again, straightforward 6-2 victory. Dimitri Vandenberg, 6-0, average 98. Dimitri was just so solid all weekend. MVG, 6-1 win over Marco Cantelli. Again, straightforward. James Wade, 6-3. I was expecting a little bit more from Madas Razma, maybe. He's averaged 90, but I was expecting a little bit more. Peter Wright, performance of the first round, 6-0, 103 average. And then Gary Anderson. We saw the best and the worst of Gary. First round, I've still got no idea how Daniel Larson threw this one away.
Yeah, I'm with you. Exactly the same watching it. It was the question mark straight away when he's 5-2, 5-3 down, and you're looking to think that, are we going to be talking to then? Is this the end of Gary Anderson? Are we going to see him go on and win something? Because these are the rounds that, yes, we've seen him struggle with before, but not in this manner. And the fact he got over the line, I'm not quite sure how he did. But fair play for Darry today and over the line. But it's a real struggle at times to see Darry Anderson when he's in this type of form.
Yeah, and then it got interesting. Round 2, this is where it all kicks off. First one, Michael Smith beat Fallon Sherrick. But apart from the last 2 legs, when Fallon missed a host of doubles, she had Bully Boy going in spells of this game, and we saw the Fallon that we all know can play on a stage.
Yeah, 100%. down into the break at 5-5. It was a great performance in 10 legs to be equal with, at the time and potentially still now, the most informed player in darts. There's arguments with a couple of other players who can probably be in that mix, but for then someone who fell and performed poor in New York, didn't perform great in first round but got the job done, and then to be all square at the break, at the one break, two breaks, 5 apiece anyway.
Yeah.
And then actually, it was only, like it says, the last couple of legs where I think you realised that the Dame had done. She missed a couple of opportunities. But it was a very, very good performance and a lot to take away going into the rest of the World Series.
Then Dimitri Vandenberg batters Gerwen Price. There was only one winner in this game. Dimitri head and shoulders above Gezi in this one.
Yeah, it's as simple as that, really. Still question marks for me on Desi's form. We'll touch upon Desi a lot more as the show progresses because we're trying to touch on 2 weeks, but this didn't help with that. Oh yeah, when he's done, it's outstanding. But one thing for me is as a Dimi fan, someone who likes to watch him. For me, just in this game, he seemed to just go up and get the job done. We've spoke before about him slowing down in a lot of games, and I don't think in this one he did it particularly where he has done in other ones when he's come up against the likes of Gerwen Price. I think he just at this point realised he was playing better than the Iceman and went up and got the job done.
Yeah. Carl, thank you very much, mate. Carl from Darts Tracker putting some absolute superb stats in the chat room, mate. Absolutely fantastic for them. Thank you very much, mate. As always, top class. John O'Shea is in the house. Hope you and Maisie are good as well. Got to say, in Niedenhausen, the Joker threatened me. I might have to go to Cork and explain why Maisie keeps having time off school at this rate. Bless her. Robert Owen is in, as always. I hope you are good. And then, look, James Wade battered MVG, but you could see, and he said it himself, even after his opener, MVG didn't give a monkeys about this tournament. All his focus was on the Monday, and he was completely overlooking this tournament, Boise.
Which right now, you can say it's okay. If things didn't go to plan a couple of days later, there's huge question marks on was it the right decision to do that. There's tournaments that players prioritise. We know that. There's tournaments that players use as a warm up. There's tournaments that players miss completely. However, with this one, MVG made it clear before a game. Normally, you have a player come out afterwards. They've lost and says, now it's time to focus on Premier League or not focus for that. He said it before James Wade game after his win on the Friday. But I don't want to say it's justified because that sounds like he's threw the game away. But the focus to be on the main one, and then if you can go and pick on the main one, then it seems a bit justified, doesn't it?
Stanley, we'll touch on that a little bit later, but yes, I do agree. Lendl is in cleaning the new house. Preston is in from California. I hope you are good, mate. And then the all-Scottish affair. Where the effing hell did this Gary Anderson performance come from? Because you look at everything else this weekend, it was either just okay or absolute awful. But this was 14 legs of vintage Gary from nowhere.
Yeah, this was Premier League finals, the night week 16 sort of performance. Not to be expected. Wright would have come in his favourite. And to be honest, Wright played pretty well. He didn't do an awful lot wrong. He was just up against it from the off with Gary Anderson putting in these performances. And this is him doing this every so often is why I still believe there is a bid one there or a very deep run in a bid one left in Gary. It's just the lack of consistency that we've seen it now. We've seen it in night 16 of the Prem. They're not following up at all. And we saw it this weekend as well. It's fair play to Gary Anderson to put in the performance. Like I say, it's not a lot Peter Wright could do. And it was just outstanding by the Flying Scotsman.
Yeah, Then semi-finals in the evening, Dimitri Van den Berg, 11-4 winner over Michael Smith. Look, Michael Smith missed a whole host of doubles early on. I'm not going to say that he wins it, but he's certainly in the game. But the damage was done early, Boise, and Dimitri just ran away with it.
Yeah, pretty much nailed on there. It was, you can't win a game at the start, but you can get yourself a pretty good advantage, and that's what Dimitri done early on. Just taking those opportunities, a bit James Wade-esque, sort of, like we talked about it a lot, does with a few years back, just pinching those sort of lads where they are missing those opportunities or not finding the scoring, and Dimi done just that and not enough for Lee to then put himself in a final.
Same in the second semi-final, that Gary got in front of James and just did enough to fend him off. It wasn't a great game, as the averages suggest. He just did enough after those first two sessions to fend James off.
Yeah, and the thing with a James Wade game, there never seems to be a game where the winner's got the higher average. And Gary Anderson has beat James Wade in this one with a lower average. James Wade wins a lot of his games with a lower average. It's just reverse in this one that Dando took it, but he wasn't able to match the quarter-final performance that he put in against Peter Wright, but he was able to put a place in the final. But spoiler alert on the screen, if you didn't already know.
Yeah, I say, if you haven't, you've been living under a rock. But again, Dimitri Van den Berg, congratulations, absolutely battered Gary Anderson in the final. His first World Series event win, his second televised title, wherever you want to dig the bones out of that one. It was on TV and it's a title, so we're going with it. Everyone said that Michael going into it only held one televised title at that point, so look, we'll go with it, and he was superb. We've also got a little clip from Dimitri. I had to go dig out and find this as well because it was that long ago.
Oh yes, a fabulous day it is. Just the words that you just spoken, it's music to my ears. I'm loving it. Yeah, 100%. I've had nervous moments in my games, but the nerves was only coming on because I was starting to let it go. I felt that it doesn't matter which game I played, it doesn't matter who I played. From the start in the games, I was strong. I was putting them under pressure. I think that's the right thing to say, that I made them miss. But then again, the quality that I have managed to play and also managed to beat, it's incredible. And like you said, right now I'm holding this trophy. Wow, it's incredible. It's yeah, like I said, it's wow.
I think he was a little bit happy. Not as happy as the James Wade interview from the World Cup, but we'll come on to that one as well.
Yeah, the thing is, we've seen Dimi perform so well the past couple of years at the match play, obviously winning one and runner-up in the other. And this is sort of perfect preparation for him with that. Just, I know I keep talking about it as we are just under a month from the Winter Gardens getting underway. It was a win that was needed from Dimi. It was not one that many would have predicted, I don't think, coming into that weekend. And it certainly puts him in a better position now with a few tournaments left before that one in Blackpool, where he'll fancy his chances of down again because he's had such a good run there over the past couple of years.
Absolutely. So that was the Nordic Darts Masters. From there, we all went south into Germany for the Premier League finals at the Mercedes-Benz Arena. And first of all, what an arena. And the crowd were unreal.
Yeah, I thought it was very good. Obviously, you was there. I was watching it on TV and I thought they come across very well. Especially when we're talking about a Premier League night. Yeah, it's abroad, but we're talking about a Premier League night when myself, Dob, Tam have been very vocal on. Fallout Bar, yourself's been quite vocal on here around the atmosphere in Premier Leagues. Just doesn't seem to hit the same as what he does with some of the tournaments. But the final didn't disappoint from an atmosphere perspective. Like I said, from a viewer's point of view, it was spot on.
Yeah. So, semi-final number one, Johnny Clayton was the favourite coming into this, but Joe Cullen put in an absolute masterclass in finishing in this one. He averages a ton, batters Johnny Clayton 10-4. Look, Johnny started slow. I think there was a few nerves in Johnny Clayton heading into this one, Boise.
Yeah, first lead was key for me. That the missed start at a double for Clayton, then Joe Cullen had 28 and finished it on double 3. It was one of them that then you sort of looking even early on to think, can he go on? And then that the leads just keep coming for Joe, and Johnny couldn't get into the game at all. And we spoke about it earlier that you can't win a game early on, but you can put yourself in a great position. I was sat watching this with Aaron from our team as well, and I was talking through it. And when the score it's still got 2, the last sort of lead, and I was saying, I'm just thinking back to the Masters and how many darts it took Joe Cullen to then go on and win the Masters, that if Johnny Clayton could just get a bit closer, it wasn't totally over, but it was just outstanding. The 180 in 11 180s in 14 leads is just fantastic from the Rockstar, especially in his first Premier League year. Like it says, I think he would have snapped your hand off for a place in the semi-finals to then get to the final as well. It was a great performance.
Yeah, and then same scoreline, but MVG swept James Wade aside. And again, it was one of those ones that James Wade missed a couple of doubles early doors. Michael punished him and just didn't look back. And you can always see if Wadey misses a few early, he just kind of goes into his shell a little bit.
Yeah, and complete reverse of the scoreline on Saturday. We spoke about it as we'd be having a different conversation if MVG doesn't win about how we played on Saturday, because for me it's not the right way to approach. However, there was so much riding on this for Michael. One, because the big TV title. Yes, we can talk about the Nordic Darts Masters, but the one big TV title, he didn't hold one of those, whatever you want to call them, majors, Premier titles. He didn't have one of those titles to hand. And for him to then go away from the sport for potentially a few weeks, a month, a couple of months maybe, we're not too sure, to then go away from the sport, and knowing he's going away from the sport, it was such a big win, the semi-final, because he had to make sure he was hot favourite, that he was in that final.
Yeah, I'll come on to that in a minute. But the final itself, one of the best Premier League finals I think I've ever seen. It went one way, it went the other. We had big finishes. We had drama-filled moments in this one. Joe Cullen missed a match dart. And when I say missed, I mean missed by just the width of a wire. It was a well-thrown dart. It's kissed the double 16 wire. And look, I haven't managed to speak. I've spoken to him on WhatsApp, but I haven't managed to speak. I'll speak to him in person when I get the chance. What a Premier League he had, even though in defeat, it was just a magical final.
It was. I've watched it back now a couple of times because I thought it was a great Premier League final. Trying to sort of pick out the moments of it are just too difficult because there's so many throughout the whole tournament. The missed dart of Joe sent me back to, was it Darry Anderson at the match playing quarters or semis, maybe? Sort of them sort of moments, the fly. Yeah, it sort of was back to that one, but what a tournament. Before we go on to Michael, what a tournament that the Rockstar has. Like it says, for someone on debut getting into the semi-finals is an outstanding achievement. When you look at the world champion not being in there, the world number one at the start of the Premier League not being in there, and then Joe Cullen, who only qualified by getting through by winning the Masters, is then in the semi-final. That I think majority of people would have predicted him being seventh in that table, maybe. Darry Anderson and Joe probably on favourites going in. To then go in and make the final in first year is a fantastic achievement, and hopefully that miss at the double doesn't linger too long, because he's got such a fantastic career in the sport. But not just that, he's proved he can do it at that top echelon. If he can continue to put the hours in and continue to work hard, he deserves to be at the top end of this game.
Yeah, completely. The MVG injury bits, Carl, I will talk about this in a second. but yeah, look, MVG, 6th Premier League crown. We could see what it meant to him. We've got a clip from his interview. Daniel, that is absolute horse shit, mate, because I've seen the great big cut on his hand where the surgeon went in. So, right, let's play the clip.
I make myself painful if I don't do it. And then to make myself so painful like today and to do the right things at the right moment, because I won today purely on character, and that's what's really important in this game.
It's interesting you say that. And I mean, how painful has it been
Really painful.
over the last couple of years?
I created my own problem a little bit, and the press, of course, because I get slaughtered if I don't do the right thing at the right moment, because everyone expects Michael to win, but that's not how it is. That's not how easy it is, and that's not how it should be. But the most important thing, I won here today, and that gives me a great feeling. And from here on, I know there's more in the tank, there's more to come, but yeah, we're going to see that in a few weeks' time.
One.
And I'm going to beat that record as well, don't worry. I still got 10, 15 years to go.
So we need to hear well done.
There we go. Michael in the chat room there, how are we doing? So yeah, MVG, 6th Premier League crown, says he will beat Phill Taylor's record. It will happen as well. He'll just tick it off.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree that he won't pick up another Premier League.
Yeah,
especially with that one there. We've sort of says when he won the Nordic that it would bounce on from there, and we'd see him go on and pick more. We didn't see that. Hopefully, this injury doesn't have too long of an impact. In being back on stage and playing to the level he did on Premier League, like it says, in a fantastic final. Because if he is back and he can play, like we've seen, I think it was in April when he won a few tournaments, and then obviously in picking up the Premier League, he's got to be the favourite to lift a couple more down into the back end of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. On the injury, seen the picture. I was chatting with Vincent in Niederhausen. Interestingly, obviously, the cut they've got in from the hand side of it to do it all. Spoke to his manager as well over the weekend. Surgery all good, all fine, and all eyes are on the match play. So good signs for MVG. I'm not quite sure what they're going to do with the Dutch Darts Masters. Who's going to come in yet? I've got a funny feeling that Barney will come in for commercial reasons.
The only other one I could think who would come in is Luke, but as it's the World Series, commercially, is the route they seem to go down.
Well, the other one as well
is a completely different debate. But
speaking to the Dutch guys at the weekend, Ian, who works now for Viaplay, and that, and Vincent, who works for Viaplay, ticket sales aren't particularly great for the Ziga Dome. If they were good, do I think the PDC would put Barney in? Maybe not. But the fact they're not particularly good, I think that Noppy will get bumped up to a seed, and Barney will come in. Personally, I wouldn't do that. I would either stick Joe or Luke Humphreys in.
it's not the tournament where it's the logical route from players playing well, is it? It's the tournament where it's what works best commercially. So I probably agree that it will be Raymond that's in there. Whether it's right or not, it's a different conversation altogether.
Yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see what they do. We're expecting an announcement any day on it, because the tournament's only 4 days away. So we're expecting.
Draw's done what on the Thursday? Normally we see the recorded draw.
What? It's not live. I wasn't told.
Maybe because we saw the draw somewhere else before it was shown on social media. Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, look, the Premier League, 16 fabulous weeks of qualifying, night 17 in Berlin. Interesting. The PDC sent out a quiz questionnaire on the Premier League and what you liked at home. They sent out 2. Funny enough, Jimmy was saying at the weekend, they sent out 1 to ticket holders that they know bought tickets and 1 to their database as well. So it'll be interesting to see how they combine the 2 sets of stats and data. Look, I'm convinced we see this form of the Premier League again next year, as in individual tournaments. Do I think there'll be a couple of tweaks? Yes, but primarily I think it will be the same.
I think the format will stay the same. Could the change who plays who, and could the change the bulling up for each game and stuff like that, maybe. Do we expect 8 players? Do we expect a winner each night? That, for me, will stay exactly the same as it is. I think maybe with the surveys, if it's similar to the World Cup, we haven't saw a change this year. But from your interview with Matt was quite open to say that we could see changes then in 12 months' time. That might be the case for the Premier League. It might not be for 2023, but 2024, we could see a different look Premier League. But generally, I'm still not sold on this format. However, there is positives to it. There is positives to the tournament type night. It's just the same players playing so many times, I think, was the biggest bugbear for a lot of people.
Yeah, right. So from the Premier League, I'm going to say the players made the dash, but they didn't. None of the Premier League players played on the Tuesday. Joe had never entered. Michael obviously was on the first flight back to Amsterdam in the morning for surgery. And Johnny never entered. James entered, but didn't play. It was a tough. It was tough to get from Berlin to Niedernhausen in time to get ready and play. I got there. I left Berlin at 5 a.m. and got to Niedernhausen about midday, and I didn't have to prep to play at 2. So that's how it was almost impossible for James and Johnny to play if they'd wanted to. That they could have, but normal prep wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, I'd done a bit of the looking into it on the Monday night with a couple of players being down to play, or James still being down to play, and I just thought surely it's not feasible, because if you travel that night, you're not going to get there till 4 or 5 a.m, or vice versa. If you leave at the time you left, you're only going to get there for 12 o'clock, and we know how much the players' prep means to them each day. So it'd be a very strange move to then do it. I just found it weird that the names were even down in the first place, because I didn't expect to see either one playing.
Yeah, Philip. No, I don't. I know those 2 guys that did the James Wade interview probably won't get accredited again, because they literally commandeered James as he was coming out of the practice room. PDC weren't very impressed. Look, I've spoken to a few people off of just chatting, and no one else there saw anything. Look, I'm sure James will come out and say in his own time what it was, but speaking to the people that I've spoken to, nothing to report. Preston says they normally like around 3 hours, mate, to get ready for tournaments. So here we are, Players' Championship 16, and the run continued. The bully boy Michael Smith made it 3 wins in a row in Players' Championship action, and it was an absolute belter of a final against Dirk. Absolute sensational stuff, mate.
Yeah, it was an outstanding watch. It was to see the semi-finals of the 2 young lads. I'm sure we'll come on to in Barry Keane and Josh Roth dead in there as well. Was an outstanding feat for both of those players. But then to have the final of Michael Smith and Dirk, which probably you'd expect with that semi-final lineup, it was just an outstanding final. And Michael Smith to then delve 3 back-to-back Pro Tours at this stage was just a great run. And what a way to do it. It was just a great match.
Yeah. And also, I'm just pointing out, even though he has taken his lovely girlfriend out for an anniversary date, he's still watching.
I knew you was going to say something.
Outstanding. I hope you're watching as well, Poppy.
If he's still watching, I'm sure we can see. Phill, that little blank screen at the bottom. Feel free to pop up at any time if you want to tell Poppy that you're in for a little toilet break and appear for 10 minutes. You're more than welcome to jump on, my friend.
But yeah, semi-finals, Keane Barry and Josh Rock. I'm guessing they will develop this weekend. Oh, sorry, but no, look, it's great to see the young lads doing it. Look, it's not their fault. I know we laugh and joke. It's the system that is the issue, not the players, and that we get there. But more importantly, a quarter-final run for Big John Henderson. He's not going to give up this tour card without a fight.
He's not. It was a great couple of days for Hendo, not in regards to even for a preparation for the World Cup, but just to that quarter-final, which no one would have expected in the current form that John's in. So for him to get there, as much as we're talking about Josh Roth and Keane Barry or Barry Keane, getting there, we've seen form from them to get into the semi-finals, but the pressure right now is on John Henderson to keep that tour card and that run to a quarter-final. Not just the ranking points, but the confidence it gives him will be a huge step in the right direction for medium-sized Hendo.
Yeah. Again, more ranking points for Martin Lukeman. He is going to Blackpool as well, last 16. Not too many other surprises, shall we say, within that one. That the 2 young lads, absolutely superb. And we'll come on to Players' Championship 17 in a minute. But the fact that they then drew each other first round was a little bit harsh.
So many people wanted that final. At least PDC didn't make them wait much more than 24 hours for actually a Josh Roth Keane Barry game. But yeah, very harsh to see semi-finalists meeting in the first round the following day.
Yeah.
In the random draw.
Players Championship 17, a huge moment in the career of Scott Williams. The non-tour card holder wins a Pro Tour event, beat Nathan Aspinall in the final, and he's looking very, very good right now. He's going to be at Ali Pally. He's going to be at Minehead. And is he going to get that tour card without having to go to Q School? And on that, the question, chat room as well, you're all darts fans in there. Would you rather, if you were Scott Williams, I know he listens sometimes as well, so if you are listening, Scott, you can answer as well for us. If he gets in the top 64, he gets his tour card, but it is only then 1 year rolling. He goes in under normal circumstances. Or would you rather top the Challenge Tour, get 2 years and start with nothing, but get that 2 year safety net?
1 year. Take the 1 year with the form you're in, confidence you've got, the know-how of not just getting it by deep runs, getting it by going on and lifting one of the Pro Tours, which is a fantastic achievement for a tour card holder or a new tour card holder. For me, take the 1 year and go with it. Because where he's currently sat in the world, just having a quick look now, what, number 76 in the world. He's going to be in the Players, in the Worlds. There's a lot of money to make still between now and the end of the year. He's going to be in every Players Championship, I'd assume.
Correct. He's in every Players Championships.
Yeah, so there's so much more money to be made there. And for that 1 year, where he could be sat in the world after a year, who would now not fancy him to have a good run? Yeah, it depends on the draw at the World Championship, but you wouldn't put it past him to make the 3rd or 4th round at the World Championship. Draw being a bit kind to him, and he puts in the performances he did on last Wednesday. For them, what day it was now, but last Wednesday. For me, you take the 1 year. What do you think?
I personally would go the top 64 1 year route, as a lot of people are saying in the chat room as well, and just run with it. Take the confidence that you get from that as well. So I'm just looking at the tour card race. So right now he's 68, and that's with everything else to come as well. So
yeah, he's got absolutely nothing to defend. For me, he has to. I would take the 1 year where he could position himself. He's got an opportunity to be in quite a few of the big TV ones before the end. You know, what's saying he can't go on and lift another one and put himself in a good position? We haven't seen the criteria yet, but he could put himself in a good position for a Grand Slam. Because we saw, was it Ridge that in there last year with 2 tournaments?
Yeah.
So there's plenty of opportunities there for Scott Williams. But what a great performance. What a great performance.
Outstanding. Obviously, Nathan Aspinall getting to another final was decent as well. Kim Hybrecht's a fabulous run to the semi-finals. That gave him plenty of confidence. Mike De Decker getting to a quarter-final. Rob Cross, Dirt, getting there again as well. Steve Beaton with a run to the last 16, which was superb. What else have we got? The 2 Aussies getting to the last 16. Look, you just know Simon Whitlock's going to find a way of getting to the match play, don't you? Just written. Hendo getting to another last 16 as well. Look, it was just a really, really good Players Championships. From that as well, probably out tomorrow, we've got interview with Chris Dobie from Niederhausen as well, and one with Webby coming out as well. So that was the Players Championships. Now, here we go. The one that everyone's been waiting for. The World Cup of Darts got underway in Frankfurt on Thursday night. And again, thank you to the PDC boys for the graphics. So, first of all, Denmark beating Singapore. And look, I was massively impressed with this Danish pairing. They're young, they're vibrant. One loose cannon in there is always a good thing that he can play as well. But this Danish team, there was a lot to like about it.
Yeah, I agree. Anderson gives you a lot. I'm on stage to give you a lot as a viewer, to give you a lot on. Maybe it's a lot of words, but they give you a lot in an interview. But they do offer a lot. But more importantly, on the dartboard, they are good dart players and are competing. In this one, it was disappointing with I thought Singapore were very poor. Disappointed with Paul Lim. Same really as what we saw at the seniors. I wasn't impressed with him there at all. But what he's done for the Dame is just outstanding. He's trying to be too harsh on the limbs in this one, but Danish just got the job done. And also, I'd probably say the experience of the previous week probably helps them coming into this weekend. Having the Nordic Darts Masters the week before puts them in good stead to open the show.
Also, as well, New Zealand 5-3 win over Switzerland. Massively impressed with Ben Robb. Hugely impressed with him. Nice throw, nice action. He's going to do some bits and bobs. Looking forward to seeing him hopefully in the Oceanic World Series events as well. So that was good. Republic of Ireland against Canada. I think Canada got this wrong, Boise. For me, Matt Campbell is playing much better than Jeff Smith right now and should have thrown first to maximise his visits to the board.
Yeah, but I don't think even now, looking at it, it may not have had an impact on the result because I thought Ireland played well. However, it would have given them a better opportunity. It would have given them a better opportunity. Yeah.
I agree with you that they needed to put pressure on that Irish pair, and Matt not having as many visits to the board as he should have done cost them, I think.
Jeff puts a lot of commitment into the Dame, the amount of travelling that person does. However, we've seen it a number of times that it's had impact on his performance due to issues with his baggage, due to his darts gone missing. We know he had trouble on the day of this flight and the previous night. So, and the current form that Matt Campbell's in, I agree that it would have been the right thing. However, I don't want to take too much away from O'Connor and Steve Lennon, who are a very, very solid World Cup pairing, and we've seen that over the years that the Tan shot. It was always going to be a difficult game. It's probably the game on Thursday night that was a toss of a coin who would have won when you look at the other result or other games that were already set in place. But I thought they'd done a very good job over Canada.
Yeah, Austria got over the line against Finland. Like, it wasn't a classic, but they got there. Not more you can say about that one. Northern Ireland got dragged into a dogfight with Gibraltar. Massively impressed with the young boys from Gibraltar, and this match turned on a moment of genius from Daryl Gurney.
Which Daryl Gurney can do, and we've seen him do to go on and lift TV tournaments. But yeah, as you mentioned, a word on the two guys from Gibraltar, two young lads. Would like to see them go and really try and push on in the game because they do have the potential to really go far in the game in regards to, we talked about America, for example, having so many players now and their tour being so good in the CDC. Gibraltar, they have the Euro Tour, and we see them compete in that. However, just like to see them push on a bit more and then come and challenge in Q-Stall because both of them have huge talents and potentially have huge future in the game if they can get on the tour, which is always so crucial.
Yeah, with you in that one. Look, Wales, again, bashed the Philippines. 99 average in pairs is very, very good indeed. Germany, 5-4 win over Spain. And again, this could have been over and done with. 5-1, 5-2, 5-3. They got dragged into a last leg decider. We'll come on and talk about him more in a minute. But Martin Schindler, what a player. And the only whitewash of the day was Netherlands beating Brazil 5-0. And again, it's getting harder to justify Brazil's inclusion right now. I get why and the TV rights and everything like that. But it wasn't great. Diogo's fine. But you need to have a partner that can play as well.
Yeah, and we saw that with another nation. I can only think of one right now. We saw that as well, where you had one player who's a huge level above who's in second, and it can have a massive impact on the team, because in doubles you're only as good as your weakest player, and with Brazil, unfortunately, there is a huge gulf in between Diogo and whoever it is that qualifies with him next year. The one thing for me is, we talked about Diogo who can do it, and we've seen him go on and win a game at the World Championships a couple of years ago. While we're seeing teams who haven't got a tour holder in this competition, they're one of 4 or 5 who there's question marks on because of the level of performance of them.
Yeah. Moving on to the Friday night. It was the last of the first round. Latvia demolished Hungary. Game number 2. This should have been later on in the night, because we all said this was going to be game of the night, and it was for me. Poland against the USA was just gripping, and that last leg, when Sebastian Białowski hits a 180, Danny Baggish wires tops for a 160, and Ratajski steps up. That's what the World Cup's all about in pairs competitions.
Yeah, there's quite a few moments across the weekend that really, really stand out. If you had a 1 minute reel of about 4 or 5 highlights, for me, this little clip had been there of Danny Baggish just missing that tops. And for me, that Ratajski hitting that with his first dart was so important, because I think if he doesn't hit it with dart 1, I'm not sure if he hits it. I think it's that important that he hits it with the first dart.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for Danny Baggish. We know what he's been through. He's travelled back recently. He's missed quite a few Pro Tours. Will potentially have to come back to Q-Stall. Nothing very likely. He'll have to come back to Q-Stall in January. What a moment that would have been, not just for him, but for Jules and America as a whole, to see how they progress. But what a difficult first round tie. It was the one that everyone to watch. Why it was on second, I have no idea. Not a clue.
Rob, great question. We'll answer at the end of the World Cup segment, mate, when we talk about the potential changes. So we've noted it. Sweden beating South Africa, and again, the difference there was Sweden had 2 what I call steady players, where South Africa had 1 good and 1 not so good.
Yeah, probably another team that fit into it. Still think we still need to see more from Devon. I think it's very hard because Devon's got more of a captain role here than a lot of the other countries. Similar to Diogo, got a bigger captain's role than what I think Joe's had one as well. But if you look at any of the seeded teams, the captain role there is slightly different. You sort of some of the captains are having to talk their partner through the game a bit more, and it didn't switch off. The 180 team from South Africa was outstanding. Was it 4 or 5? It was just outstanding in the game than Sweden, but it just wasn't enough, and they missed a few crucial doubles early on. But so Sweden had 2 solid players and just done enough.
Portugal beating Italy. We'll talk about Portugal more in the later rounds. Don't worry about that. Australia comfortable against Lithuania, and then for me, the end of the night got a little bit boring because they were all very, very one-sided. England 5-1, Scotland 5-1, Belgium 5-2, and there was no real dangers. So moving on to round number 2. And this is where, again, the World Cup doesn't quite work for me. Northern Ireland beating New Zealand 2-0. Again, Daryl Gurney beating Ben Robb. Enjoyed that game. Warren Parry was 2-0 up. Dolan 4 legs on the spin. 2-0 looked comfortable, but it was closer than what that suggested. As I'm just going to switch my light on as well.
Yeah, it's with the format being as it is, it can only take one break. But it was a closer game. Daryl Durney. If you look at both of those, Daryl Durney sort of romped to a 4-2, and Brendan Dolan struggled to win 4-2. But they are the same scoreline, and both got the job done. We see what playing for your nation can do, and certain players it seems to have that much of an impact. And I know Daryl touched upon it in his interview around how much it would mean if he could just win one more, what it would be. And we sort of see that it can have a negative spin as well as it can a positive when you see in some of these games. But for both of them, they are going to be a team to fear over the coming years as well, because I think both players, I think Daryl will get better then, and Brendan's very steady.
Yeah, agreed. Match number 2, the Netherlands sent out a statement in this one, 2-0. Danny Noppert averaged 99.53 in the first game. We thought that was good. However, then Dirk went up and averaged 110 as he absolutely battered Steve Lennon 4-1.
Yeah, it was... Noppy was very good. Dirt was outstanding. And then we talked about the pairing of Republic of Ireland, how dangerous they can be, especially in these short format games and letting you into a doubles. But Dirt and Danny were having absolutely none of it. And after that result, we're certainly moving into that can they go on and win it conversation, where probably before that there was only a couple of names that you were talking about.
Yeah, Wales, Austria. Again, this is what the World Cup is about, because we had a pairs game to decide it. But look, Gerwen Price pulled something out of the bag. It wasn't the only time he pulled something out of the bag this weekend, but he's finishing, and that 1-5-3 when Sulovic was at match point, Boise, was just vintage Iceman.
I don't know how he done that. The whole game, 3 ton plus checkouts in a best of 7 is ridiculous.
Sorry,
first I believe to ever do it. That 1-5-3.
It was 1-4-9, wasn't it? So it was 60, 57, 32.
Well, either one. Yes, yeah. But there were just moments in it where we was talking about Price in Copenhagen and the levels. This is probably the flip of it, of where we can see Darwin Price coming back to challenging for world number 1 and challenging for those big titles. Then when he goes on and does that, because there's no question marks, can Price do it over 6 sets and Price do it over best of 30. Price has got it. It's just stringing it together. And in this match, when his country needed him, he was outstanding. Performance of the weekend individually as a one-off game. I know we dirty it at 110, but for me, it's very hard to not look at Darwin Price in this one. There's probably a couple on Sunday as well that will be in that debate.
His Sunday one was better, average-wise was better. We'll come on to that in a minute, but Roby John beating Johnny Clayton. Roby played fantastic. Played a little bit with the crowd as well. I'm not sure Johnny enjoyed that bit too much. I'm not sure Johnny enjoyed it too much. But look, Roby was superb, and the doubles went down to the final leg. And this is what makes the World Cup full of drama. When it happens like this, Wales edge through. Germany, again, job done over Denmark. Experience showed in this one. Not too much more to say about that. Then, moving on to the evening session, there was a little bit of drama in the first one. Simon Whitlock was flat, but got over the line against Johan Instrom. Damon Heta, a surprising loss for me against Daniel Larsson, but the pairs, they absolutely blitzed them to win it 2-1.
Yeah, probably the most surprising result, singles result, was Damon Heta, I'm guessing, against Daniel Larsson. Maybe Johnny against Austria. But there's question marks at this point about Australia, and certainly what we saw at the end on Sunday night. There was no thought to this while there was coming through this game with Sweden. We saw a better World Cup session on Saturday night than what we did in Saturday afternoon, but this was certainly a good way to set it open. But in the doubles down, they were just too strong. They then stepped it up. Damon had to found a bit more in that one, but Whitlock was very, very good. I know we'll talk about Simon a lot more as we go into Sunday, but he was very, very good on Saturday to then him over the line in what was needed.
Yeah, Jamie, yes, there was a huge can of worms avoided. Agreed. We were talking about it backstage. Yeah, lucky it didn't happen. Belgium beat Poland 2-0. Again, fairly comfortable. England beat Latvia 2-1. I'm still not convinced that Latvia did the right thing. Although Rasma beat Wade, it backfired because Rasma was then out of position in the pairs.
I think you have to concentrate on making sure you're in the pairs when you are the weaker team. And if that means moving your strongest player to second, I think it's the right move. Because then, yes, you've got to perform in the doubles, but with Michael Smith performing the way he is, you'd expect England to win 2-0 anyway, but Michael Smith's playing the better than James Wade. If you're looking at playing England and you want to make sure you get that win, you'd be focusing on James Wade as the weaker member. So I don't think it's the wrong move.
I get that.
Different. This discussion's different in another game on this session, but for the England Latvia one, I do think it's going right.
I do get that, but I just think that yes, you force the pairs, but then you're out of position because you're then best player. Being that England had the darts, throws fourth.
But from a percentage looking at it, to have a small percentage of winning the doubles game, to have a larger percentage of maybe not even getting to that doubles, I don't know why you'd take the risk. Percentages for me mean you would take the risk of having a weaker chance in the doubles where you might not even get there at all. I think it's a risk worth taking. I understand why Latvia done it. I'm going to contradict myself completely in another game that we talked about. But
we'll move on to that one. Where to start in this one? First of all, we'll start for me with the absolute ridiculous decision that Portugal made by switching order. And I don't mean this horribly, but Vito wasn't going to be either one of those. So again, going into the pairs, Jose de Souza is out of position, can't influence it. However, that wasn't the worst bit about it. In the pairs, Jose de Souza busts 181, and then his teammate from 181 leaves him 162.
First point, this is where I differ, is I think this is lack of homework, preparation, because Jose's probably thought this to do. Captain plays one, I can make the change in no second, I'll play Hendo. However, if you looked at Scotland winning the World Cup last year, this was the way that Scotland played throughout, and I didn't expect them to play any different this time. Regarding the Jose 180, I was just shocked when there was no pause, there was no even think about what he was on. The fact then that Vito left him on a bogey number, did he 22?
22 to leave 16. He left 162, I think 19, whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah, left 159, and I don't know. I was lost for words. The fact he wasn't able to, he wasn't left on a finish at all from 181 after 6 starts is just, is just something. We see some wild moments. It's got to be up there. We've seen, we see these World Championship clips where there's strange things happen in the first round. We see doubles and the strange things happen. This has got to be up there in the top 3, maybe, of Sits darts that me and you could leave the finish on 1-8-1 after Sits. Phill, even I'd fancy that.
The thing is, at first, the Jose miscounts and that were funny, but now they're just irritating for me. You're a professional sportsman, and it's all just becoming a little bit of a bore for me now.
I don't find I'm funny in the sense of him miscounting that way. For me, Jose was the one I was aiming at earlier with the captain and the amount of responsibility that's on him. You were seeing Jose through this game, especially in the doubles in this game, talking his partner through certain shots, which for me shouldn't be happening on a professional stage. It seemed, I'm not saying he was, can't lip read to say that he was, but even commentators picked up on it that it looked as if he was talking him through the route to go. So I'm not making an excuse for him because we've seen it before. But if there's one I would let him off for, it is the one in the World Cup. Because the responsibility on his shoulders was ridiculous. But it's not a laughing matter in the sense that he's done it multiple times. One thing I would say about Jose is I think over the weekend is we've seen him play a bit better. I think we've seen him the 180s back. I'm not going to say we've seen him to the levels of him picking up a TV title then, but I think the performances were better than what we've seen from Jose recently. But yeah, something needs to be done. Either he needs to be stopping and asking after the second dart, even if he's doing it earlier on in the leg. Something needs to happen there. We've understands that he needs to do that himself, or it's through his management team or the people around him that need to just talk to him in those moments, because it didn't have the impact in this one. It wasn't 3 apiece or 2 apiece, and it wasn't at a crucial time. Really, I don't think. Yes, it was led 1. If Portugal would have done 1-0 in front, I'm still not convinced they'd have won the game. I don't know about you, Phill, but I'm not convinced they'd have won the game.
Right.
But
I'm not sure.
There is other games. There is bigger games. There is individual games in quarterfinals, semi-finals, where it will come back and bite him on the backside.
Even if you win that first one, you give Scotland something to think about. Rose, look, I'm not saying he hasn't got number dyslexia, but what I'm saying is I was dyslexic at school, and you can work, same as your spelling, you can work hard to get it right, and I'm not seeing any improvement at all with these things.
And I know so I'm not going down that sort of route of, if that is the case, then maybe he's a rhythm player, so it's hard, but maybe after he's thrown his first or his second dart, he stops and asks. There's nothing stopping the players from asking the referee.
Yeah.
And then he can take from there. It's not every leg. It's just more, it would be more frequent than other players. And to be honest, with the mistakes he's made from miscounting, he would be applauded massively if he started to ask. Because sometimes people do, who's a professional player doing that, why they're doing that. But actually, people would be applauding Jose for doing it because we'd see he's made mistakes and he's learned from them mistakes and he's trying to progress with it. I just think there's...
No, 100%. So, anyway, Portugal depart. Moving on to the quarter-finals. And this is where it all got interesting. Cup Collection Day, as it's now been dubbed. And first of all, the Netherlands 2-0 over Northern Ireland. It was just one of those, one that Danny scrapped his way to a win, and then Dirk found a huge moment. That 1-5-3 changed the course against Brendan Dolan, got him back into the game, and they went on and won. But when you look at the averages in this one, Northern Ireland, it's a missed opportunity because the Dutch weren't amazing.
Yeah, missed opportunity then into a doubles. The standout moment's going to be that 1-5-3. It was just unbelievable timing to then level the game up, to go into the deciding leg, DARTS out the throw, and to wrap it up in 15 as well. It was just an outstanding finish. But yeah, Northern Ireland, as I says, over the next few years, we will see them go deeper than this, I believe. But they will look back at this one of losing to, and then if you look back at this result in a few years and see that you've lost to the Netherlands 2-0 in the quarterfinal, it's not a disgraceful loss. However, people would assume that is with Michael van Derwen in the team. And when Daryl Durney and Brendan Dolan go up against Snoppy and Dirt, no disrespect to any of those four, but Durney and Dolan will think one of us should be there to win there.
Well, especially when Danny and Dirk have only averaged 93 and 92. It wasn't as if they on average a ton or anything like that. There was a chance here. Now, this game had it all. And Australia thought about this, and there was a little bit of tactics involved in the order selection. Although it didn't work out the way perhaps they wanted it to, Damon Heta had never lost to Dimitri van den Berg. Simon Whitlock has always opened for Australia in 12 years, and they switched it. Look, it didn't go that way, but you could see the thought went into it. The fact that Simon went in average 101 in the singles and then 109 in the doubles as a pair, outstanding. But I liked the little switch, the little mind games.
And this is where it is different. This is where I do. Me and you are going to disagree, and we disagreed after the weekend around the switch, and as few of us debated it within our group chat of if you've got one strong player and one a lot weaker player, is the switch the right thing to do? Does the impact on doubles? When you're at this stage of the tournament, it is more about the tactics of who you are up against, not in regards to the difference in quality. Does any of these games, any of these singles games, could have done the other way? The majority have beat the other player at some stage in their career, but it is all about that little bit of an edge, that extra percentage. And Simon Whitlock and Damon Heta fought. I'm assuming Damon would have led there and gone in Simon's ear and said, listen, I've never lost to Dimi. Give me a shot at him. Yes, it didn't work out that way, but that's Belgian thinking. It definitely that's Belgian thinking, because maybe at that point, Dimi isn't thinking that or Tim isn't thinking that, and they're questioning why that change has happened. It didn't work out, but Simon was outstanding against him.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the doubles, averaging 109 4-0, was one of the best doubles performances I can ever remember.
Is there many people who had looked at this game and thought it's not going to be 4-2 or 4-3 in the doubles? Because I think beforehand, that's the way that it seemed to be the way of going, and they were just outstanding. Yeah. You could see the face of Tim and Dimi of just what they was watching. There was nothing that could do. It was just outstanding by the pair.
Evening, Shawnee Matt. Hope you are good, my friend. Then Wales 2-0. They silenced the German crowd. However, there's only one place to start, and it is a casual 117.88 average from Gerwen Price. He beat Martin Schindler 4-0. Schindler's averaged 101, played really well, and got absolutely blown away.
It should have been better though, shouldn't it?
The
record was on.
Yeah. Rose, that's a
disappointing. It's disappointing that Gerwen Price averaged 117. That says it all about the levels this man can do, because it should have been higher. It should have been in the 120s. Easy in the 120s. But what a great performance. Martin Schindler didn't do anything wrong. He just did average 101, and that's a scoring average, as he didn't have a dart to double. So, with doubles in there, if he's not at 100%, obviously that's going to drop down. But he did do an awful lot run. He was very steady, and he's playing some good stuff at the moment. But a great performance by Desi.
Yeah. And then the defending champions bowed out in the quarterfinals. England 2-0. Michael Smith beat Hendo 4-0. And then this was just a bizarre game. James Wade, a 4-1 winner over the world champion Peter Wright. But only James Wade can average 80 on a TV event and win. And that's not a criticism of James. He just does James Wade things. Only James can do that. Look, Peter was only averaged 82 himself. It was scrappy, but a disappointing way for Scotland to bow out in the end.
Yeah, it's not just a TV event. It's a TV quarterfinal. It's against the current world number 1 and world champion. James Wade just got the W. I'm sure that's all James Wade ever speaks about in the bat. He's getting that W, and it's not how he gets it. And very disappointing by Peter Wright. A lot of pressure on him last year, and they went on and won it. Still, he's won 2 World Cups in the last 4 years. So Peter Wright will be very happy, and sure next year he'll be back, and he'll be back with a stronger partner, a partner who's in more form. I'll probably put it as I don't want to criticise Hendo too much because he's got a World Cup trophy, a World Cup medal at home. But he'll be back with a stronger partner, and I think Scotland will be a stronger pairing next year.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, but who'd you pick?
Why?
Well, Gary's not. I don't think Gary will go.
Yeah, but it is where the players are in 12 months' time. But if you had the form of Suits 12 months ago down into a World Cup, this year, having that form this year down into it.
Right now, the other Scottish players are not in form.
But they've got 12 months to correct that. Hendo's come into this with
they have.
2 good days. 2 good days in 18 months. And those two good days were this week, which helped. But they're not going to have a weaker team next year, I don't think, because I think that other player will be playing better than what John Henderson is at the moment.
Yeah, I just don't know who that other player is going to be, is the thing, because right now they're all out of nick. Willie can't win a game since the World at 9 Dart. Suits has been awful this year compared to this time last year. Even Andy Bolton
that's
is not
the
playing
issue.
well.
That's the issue with Suits, is the fact of he had a great start to the year when he got the Tortard.
And a great
how
Worlds.
That will impact the rankings. Yeah, how that will impact the rankings. The Worlds will still be on there. We probably will be still be in that position. And it depends if Gary Anderson then plays. I wouldn't expect him to, but who knows?
I'm not convinced Peter plays either at the moment. Right.
I think he will.
Semi-finals. And this was an interesting one. First up, Wales beat the Netherlands 2-0. Gerwen Price beat Dane Opperle. It wasn't a great game, but then Johnny Clayton beat Dirk. This was a good tussle, and no, it's all if buts and maybes. But I think if Dirk could have just beaten Johnny, they may have had a chance in the pairs. But look, it was 2-0. But the drama was in the second one. England against Australia, and Heta beats Michael Smith, but Michael Smith, what a missed opportunity this was. Heta plays his get out of jail card in this one.
Yes, Smith should have had it one, and then it's a completely different second game. it is a debt out of jail. We probably said that with Australia early on as well on the Saturday, but it was the day that Michael Smith had to go on and lead this team. He had the quality of the 8 players, but the form that Michael Smith's in, England were fancied this weekend with Wales. A lot of people had that teed up as the final just because of how strong the 2 players were. Michael Smith is head and shoulders above James Wade at the moment, and head and shoulders above a lot of players. So that's not disrespect at all to James Wade. So he needed, especially in the back end, that's where we need to see Michael Smith step up as captain. But for me, it was just a missed opportunity, and James Wade was very poorer than Simon. But Simon, again, outstanding.
Yeah. Look, it was a contrasting game that one, Simon Whitlock was brilliant and James Wade was bang average. Well, less than bang average. He's averaged 85. So a combination of the 2, brilliance from Whitlock, but disappointing from Wade. And it sets up the final, Wales against Australia. And it didn't disappoint. The first 2 singles game went the way of the Aussies, but it was this pairs game that had us gripped, and the Welsh kept it alive. But again, we're talking about a pairs game in the World Cup that had us gripped, Boise. Forget the singles for a minute. The gripping games have been the pairs.
Yeah, they have. It's the one thing the final guarantees is the World Cup is that you get a pairs game. From the Friday onwards, there's no guarantee that you see pairs at all. At least you are guaranteed to see that in the final. And what a game it was. For Simon to then miss, was it 10, 12 years after he missed in the final?
Yeah.
Match-winning goal.
10 years.
For him to do it, and the fight from Wales, a team with Gerwen pricing from 2-0 down in the World Cup, there's still a lot of people who are fancying them to go on and still turn it round and win 3 on the spin. When they then got that with the doubles, there's so much pressure on Damon Heta. Yes, that would increase further on Simon, but there's so much pressure on Damon Heta in then that 4th game because of the performance and the very, very quick turnaround that you don't normally see with players in any other competition, from PDC to even live league. Players still have that sort of 10, 15-minute break. You don't see that in this. They are back up straight away, and Damon Heta has to recompose very, very quickly. And kudos for Damon Heta for doing that. It was the pairing were just outstanding. There was so much emotion for both players last year. Because of Kyle, there was so much emotion this year, but they held it together superbly. And for Simon Whitlock to put in the individual performances that he did throughout the week. I know, there we go. It has been a long show already. For Simon Whitlock to put in the individual performances he did all weekend to get them to where they was today after Damon Heta lost a couple of singles, but then had to step up in that 4th game to make sure there was no pressure on the Wizard last, was just a fantastic pairing. It was so good to see Australia go and lift that trophy, and you could see what it meant to both players.
And 10 years after that heartbreak, Simon Whitlock there as the captain. David Heta said he was still the skipper. But look, Heta was sensational in that game against Johnny Clayton to win it. We saw him shadow boxing and jumping across the stage, and no one can begrudge these 2 the World Cup title. Puts them both in the Grand Slam as well, which they were both over the moon about as well. Although it's nice to win this tournament, looking at the rest of the year, this ticks off a box early on that they will be at the Grand Slam as World Cup winners. And Simon Whitlock was the darling of Frankfurt. They didn't stop singing his name all weekend.
Yeah, it was true even on stage when Dan was trying to interview him. he'd walked off then and was with a crowd. I know Damon done it in an earlier round. Simon was doing it now because they were just singing his name throughout. And the amount of hours and time and tournaments that Simon puts in, what Damon's done, and what people do. This is not just Australia, but people from America, Canada, and all those countries who put so much in, come and move over here and put that commitment into the sport. Damon's moved over with his partner. Simon, we know, has been over here for so many years. It was just great to see Australia then go on and pick that. Even from an Englishman, it's nice to say that it was great to see Australia go on and pick the darting World Cup up.
Right, we've got a clip from the winners as well.
Top of the world, mate. I'm on top of the world. This is a dream come true. Finally a world title. And to do it with a partner, it's even more special. A bit more calm, yeah. But I had every belief me and Domo were going to win this World Cup. And I think all of our friends sort of knew in the back of their minds we had a great chance of winning it. Yeah, definitely.
Massive. And the way we done it, playing Wales in the final, where to get our revenge, so to say, if we're going to win one, might as well win that one against them. So that was massive.
Can you just picture that infectious smile of his right now?
Oh yeah, he'd probably say a dad joke to me or something, or I just can imagine, mate. Yeah.
Like we said, for the late great Kyle Anderson as well, and there was so many fitting tributes over yesterday night and into this morning that it meant so much to them as well, and it was just a nice moment.
Yeah, it was. Last year we spoke. A lot of people were backing Australia and were supporting them along the way because of how recent the tragic news is about Kyle and the World Cup being not that long after that news. And we saw how emotional it got to both players that weekend, and it was spoke about quite frequently. Whereas this time, everyone sort of knew that passion, that emotion was still there. But I think both players held it together very well, and it was one of the first things Simon spoke about in his interview on stage. He spoke about it with himself shortly after. So it's clear to say that Kyle was with them as soon as they won it, it was something that they was talking about. And it was just a fantastic job by both players across the weekend. I'd say Simon's getting a lot of praise for some of the numbers that he hit, but Damon was just outstanding, just a great pairing. And we can now see on the screen the disappointment of the other flip of the coin in that final.
Well, this isn't. We didn't speak to them afterwards, but this is going to open the debate now. Get ready, chat room. I think I've loaded up the right clip. We'll listen to the clip first of all, and then we know where we're going.
Thank God, Gezzy's on fire in the first game.
I don't know about that. I hit 2 good shots out, and that was it.
And he jumped out of my shoes when they came in. Don't you worry about that.
But I think that's what it should be. I mean, it's a pace tournament. It's a doubles tournament. It's not a singles tournament. I mean, you could go all the way now, apart from the first round, win this tournament without playing a pace. I mean, it's not a pace tournament then. So I think, the PDC usually get it right, but I think they got this one wrong.
There we go. The pairs comparison. Where do we start, Boise?
I was looking at sort of what could be done with the World Cup, and the ones that spring to mind is you keep it in the same sort of knockout format as it is now in regards to it is just a simple knockout tournament. However, it's just one game of doubles from start to finish. You go first to four currently, isn't it? First to 4, and then you move to best of 15 and maybe best of 19 final or best of 21, and you extend that in doubles all the way throughout. The only other thing I can't say, for me, it only works if you move the whole tournament to doubles. It's do you then continue with a knockout throughout, or do you put it into a group stage? The other thing I would probably throw in, Phill, is if we have a group stage and then into a knockout, should there be more than 2 players per team? which I would like to see, that you have 3 players per team and your captain decides which 2 play, but you have to change after every game. So you never stick with the same 2.
I don't know. Look, I'd like to see a complete revamp of the World Cup. I think we all would. But I don't know. Look, for one, just get rid of the singles. I don't like it. Look, Jesse and I have said it there. It's a pairs tournament. Could you make it a 3-man team? Yes.
You just with a 3-man team, the only issue you've got is if you make it a 3-man team, but it's the same sort of round 1, round 2, quarterfinals. The only thing is you've got a 3-man team and one of those players might not play. So for me, to introduce a 3-man team into a 2-man tournament, you've got to then have a group stage. So you play 2 or 3 games and then you're down to your groups. How that works, how quickly the games are, would have to be sort of looked at. But it can't continue the way it is because we're picking out those moments of doubles where actually what we want is that throughout the whole weekend.
Yeah, completely. Simon, Shawnee says a mixed triple. Look, I like the idea, but I'm not sure that every nation has got a capable lady player.
See, and one of the others in Tud, someone's put to Brazil field 4 players. The Tud, and all teams Tud. And if you have 3 players, yes, your third then might be weaker than your second and should be, but there might be another Dolph there. But the pressure that's on the shoulders of some of these players who are coming into partner Devon and coming into partner Jose, just pick out a couple of the examples. If they know they're not playing every game and you've got a little group stage, that alleviates some of that pressure and could help with a bit of a sort of a rotation in there. I think there's something that's got to be done. How it works, I'm not quite sure in the logistics of it. Because it would probably mean if you do into that, you probably have to add in another session or 2. And I'm not quite sure there's the need for that if the tournament remains where it is. Because even looking on that picture now, you can see on finals day, there was empty seats at the back of the venue there. As much as it had a good atmosphere throughout the weekend, it wasn't a sellout throughout.
Saturday was. So I think darts in Germany is very different to darts in the UK in terms of also in Germany, I noticed that on a Sunday, everything's shut. Like shops and supermarkets are shut, where over here, we're just on the go 24/7. So I don't think extending the format is an option in terms of the number of days. So it's a case of fitting it into the 4 days or the 4 days, the 6 sessions that we have.
Yeah, which is another thing that needs to be looked at. I guess the second part of sort of, and one that come up in the chat room, Phill, was the comment of one player, should the tournament even be held in Germany?
Yes, and look, I think Kim's not backtracked. He's explained it a little bit better today. And look, the fans were superb in Germany this weekend. Look, have we been critical of them before? Yes, but the fans were superb. Everyone's saying, oh, they should go to this area, they should go to that area, they go here, go here. First of all, you have to have a fan base that are going to buy tickets. We've seen, like everyone's saying, oh, put it in Holland, put it here, put it there. Holland is only a small country, and they've had a Euro Tour, which didn't sell particularly well in Zwolle. You've got a World Series event coming up. that hasn't sold particularly well by all accounts. The World Series Finals has sold very well in September, whenever it is. So you need to put it in areas that you know sell well. And Germany has a huge fan base. So I understand why a lot of it is in Germany. Because they know they're getting revenue.
Yeah, but I'm not opposed to it being there. I'd like to see some change with it. I'd like to see it moved a little bit, even if it's predominantly in Germany, but we see it elsewhere. But even with the thoughts of extending it to 3 players, if you extend it to 3 players, that's not saying that the PDC then going to increase their prize fund, because they're probably not. Only with the normal increases that we see today. So that 70,000 that winners pot that's between Damon and Simon, if that was then split out further, that's between 23 grand each, give or take. And then your first round losers, the 4,000, which players are getting 2 grand each. There's a lot of travel, there's a lot of cost associated to it. If you increase that number, you have got that as well. So there's a lot that needs to be considered. But even if the first year of change is just moving it all to doubles, I think that would be a positive move.
Yeah, I'd go doubles and set play would be my... Loads of chat in the chat room about this, which is superb. What do you think, chat room? Matty Edgar says, flip the format, pairs first, then singles. That brings in tactics stronger into play. Yeah, look, the other thing as well is obviously TV have a say in this as well. And let's be honest, if you're a TV company, you want the big names on show, which I think why the singles still plays a huge part. I'm not saying I agree with it, but that's why.
Yeah, but I don't disagree. There's so many suggestions coming in, qualifying for it. There's so much in the chat room of different ideas of what should happen. Like I said, hopefully, and from what the conversation you had with Matt last month before, is that at least they are looking at it, which for me is a positive.
Yeah,
yes,
no, they've got plans for it, which is good.
Well, the World Cup is, as I've said plenty of times on this show, is probably my least liked PDC tournament throughout the year. It changed a little this weekend. There was a lot of moments. Yes, they all revert back to the doubles, but there was a lot of good moments this weekend in what, for me, was a very good tournament. For the one I like the most.
Rob Owen's off to Jamaica to make a team up. Yeah, look, I just think that for me, the key things around the World Cup that we learned this weekend: 1, all the drama comes around the pairs. 2, the nations who are in it need to be looked at. Other than that, it was an enjoyable tournament for me. So now we've got Matty Edgar and Robert Owen teaming up for Jamaica.
Please, let's see Matt Edgar and Rob Owen playing for Team Jamaica. However, it wouldn't be the same on walking down, having a walk on, unless there's 4 players in a line. Bit full runnings like.
So yeah, look, it's interesting. I'm looking forward to it. Like we said, it would have been interesting if the Netherlands had have won it. That was one of the ones earlier as well. Had the PDC backed themselves into a corner? No, because rule number 1 would have been applied.
Well, we might have just seen a 3-man team. They might have introduced that, and then it's the 2 World Cup winners with MVG.
Yeah, but yeah, look, it's been good. Fingers crossed that we have all the associated tours back between now and next year. So again, we have proper criteria where we're picking it off of a run of form, not just a qualifier on the day, like the Asian Tour. Hopefully that's going to be back as well.
Phill, with that in mind, do you think that had an impact on why we had our 8 seeded teams play on Sunday? Obviously, it's not the sole reason, but do you think it had much of an impact that we haven't seen these tours at full effect yet?
Possibly, yes. I just think that there was no upsets. They all got through, mainly because they were a lot stronger as well. Look, some of the pairings were questionable. Were they the strongest available? No. I just take Hong Kong, for instance. Kai Fan Young is a better player than the two that were picked. But because he couldn't go back and play in the qualifier, because he's based in the UK, ruled him out. So look, I don't think the pairs were particularly the strongest they could have been in the other ones as well. In some of them.
Yeah, I get that. I do get that.
But we're going to open the chat room up as well, everyone. So start getting your questions in for question time. Amsterdam this weekend for the Amsterdam Masters. God will be on site for us.
That's why we let him have Monday off, really. He tells us it's his anniversary, but that's why we let him off, really. Phill, just while they are getting the questions in, have you got the lineup? As I've seen tomorrow's, have you got the lineup for this week's live lead? Because tomorrow's looks very, very interesting.
I have 2 seconds. Philip says as well, why not allow every World Cup team to pick their own walk-on song? I've heard Hey Baby too much. Yeah, I agree with you. But again, TV actually have say, even without the World Cup, the players can suggest their walk-on songs, but ultimately it's the TV that has final say on it. Right. So, this week. Right, so this week's lineup is as follows. Group A is Jared Cole, Martin Adams, Robert Rickwood, Gary Stone, Andy Jenkins, Steve Brown. Group B, Justin Smith, Graham Usher, Dan Reed. Group C, Steve Hegarty, Johnny Haynes, and Matthew Edgar.
I watch Saturday nights live. Normally, I catch it up on Sunday morning. Tone and Whitehead, how he went and won Saturday night is still beyond me, because David Pallett should have beaten him 4-0 and broke the live lead record in that semi-final, which was a ridiculous semi-final. And then for Pallett then to, after the disappointment of that, to then go and beat Matty Dennons in that game for the place in the finals week was just such a dud Saturday night's entertainment after the World Cup to see. Just the players fighting it out once more, but very good week. But the lineup this week looks very, very strong. I guess I have to say that with Matt Edder in the chat room. But yeah, it looks very, very strong, especially with seeing Martin Adams back in the live league.
Yeah, and it just to the point on walk-on songs as well. Matty Edgar said that he got turned down for Real American when he wore the Hulk Hogan shirt. Yeah, look, it all comes back to ultimately TV gets the say, rightly or wrongly. But yeah, the live league. Congratulations at the weekend, Conan Whitehead. If that double 17 had gone superb, but it was all good. Right, so let's go. Let's dive in. Before we dive in, have we missed anything in a week in darts? I think we've covered just about everything, haven't we?
2 weeks in darts, we've missed an awful lot. We probably have. Someone will remind us in the chat room if we've missed anything, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, has the Ryder Cup of Darts been raised with the? Yeah, yes, it's been spoken about so many times that I think we will see the Ryder Cup of Darts in another organisation.
Yeah, I do as well. Good one from Juanita. We saw it raised. Saw conversations had with Damon Heta now winning the World Cup. We saw what inspiration the World Cup win had for Johnny Clayton. Phil, can this have the same impact for Damon Heta?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's a lot of good signs with Damon Heta before this World Cup win. There's a lot of talk that he could go on and win one anyway. This just certainly helps that, you would believe. And he will fancy himself going into Blackpool next month. Which, Phil, I don't know if I've mentioned, I'm quite excited that Blackpool's less than a month away.
Oh, yeah. You haven't brought it up, to be fair. So, yeah. I'm sure we will see the Ryder Cup format played. Maybe not on the PDC to start with, but I'm sure we will see it. Nathan says, what's the one change you'd make about the World Cup if you were in charge? To start with, pairs all the way for me.
Yeah, that has to be the first 14 changes. We might see multiple, but that'll have to be the first one.
Yeah. Robbo says, do you think the WDF men's and women's world champions of 2022 will get spots at the Grand Slam of Darts? I don't, personally.
I would like to see that. I don't think. I'm fairly certain it won't happen. It'd be a very strange approach, considering we saw no sort of communication of partnership there, other than the allowing the players to play, and that as a one-off, and it was clear that it was a one-off. I don't see that happening, but I would like to see it in the future, and I'm sure if you spoke to both Bo and Neil, well, Neil's told us already, Neil would like to place there, but I just don't see it happening.
Yeah. Do you know if Dan Dawson is permanent addition to the Sky commentary team? I don't know is the honest answer. Look, Dan's absolutely fantastic and he was brilliant at the weekend. Is he going to be a permanent addition? I don't know. What else have we got here? What's your thoughts on Martin Schindler's potential? Look, Martin Schindler is absolutely top class and just getting better and better. For me.
Yeah, I'm with you.
They probably, Matt said in a German interview they probably won't get invited. No, I agree, Philip. I don't see it happening. Jacob says, seeds in danger at Blackpool. Oof.
I had a feeling he was going there. I've just stopped the rankings.
I'm just going to load it up now.
It's very, very hard to see because
you don't know who they're going to play. But just on current form, out of the 16 who I think are in possible danger,
I've got
right now, off his current form, and I'm only basing this from New York to now, James Wade.
Yeah, I've got 4. James Wade's one of those.
Wade, Anderson, De Souza, Chisnell.
obviously tied on the draw. I haven't got Jose, but I've got Ratoisti. I have question marks about Christoph Ratoisti at the minute.
Actually, I am bang on with Shawnee Mack here. Right now as well, I think Peter Wright's in danger.
Depends what he's predicting before the match play. I think the flip of it, what I would say is there's probably 3 or 4, again, probably around the same number, who any seeded player wants to avoid. So if you flip to the other side of the draw, Phill, and I'm just down on the current, let's say the top 13 are in, top 14 are
I think top 14
maybe.
are in. I think Gilding's there as well.
So if say top 14 are in, I think there's obviously Damon now on the back of that weekend, Asp being in this side of the draw, and that can change. Callum Ridds, I still don't think, especially in the first round, you want to be drawing Darryl Durney, because I think he can cause those upsets. So there's certainly players in there who can cause those. It doesn't really matter who they're playing. So looking forward to that race, because not only, obviously, the players I've mentioned there's a few. Team Barry had a good run midweek last week. If he can get into there, going in with a bit of form, it's going to be very, very interesting.
Flip the question. If you're a seed, who would you like to draw out of the non-seeds in the first round?
With it being match play, probably match playing worlds are the same. My thought would probably be exactly the same. I would probably want to draw someone on debut, just because everything within that can have so much emotionally draining, and where it is can probably have an impact. But who would I want to draw? It's difficult that I'm being harsh on someone. It's not my approach. Razma?
There's 2 glaring names out of the top 14 at the moment that I'd want to draw right now.
Is one number 14?
No.
Oh.
12 and 13, Clements and Razma for me.
Razma.
If I'm a seed, I'd want one of them.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, like I says, if we try and set someone potentially on debut, I just think it helps in that sense. But it's going to be a great draw. It's going to be a great draw when we see that in a few weeks. Well, it's nice. Like they couple of days before.
Yeah.
It'll have to be on Destiny's calendar.
Yeah. Lendl says, will Bo play in the women's series this weekend? I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that ship has sailed for now.
Yeah. No, I don't think she will personally.
But even without Bo in there, what a weekend that we have in store. We're talking about the race, the match play. How important is this weekend for the women?
Oh, huge.
Love to see a few for nostalgic reasons that they'll love to see Trina into that, but there's also a couple of young players. Saw Katie Sheldon the stuff on the Six Nations this weekend. There's a few on there as well, a few young players who could cause a few upsets, but I think there's 2 secure, maybe 4, but I still think there's quite a few places to fight for, and one good deep one to get you in that mix. Do you know if Naturia's there this weekend?
I don't. I hope she is, but I don't know is the honest answer. She was planning, last time I spoke to her, she was planning to come over and play. That was the plan. look, I really hope Robin Byrne and Katie Sheldon make it. Chloe O'Brien has impressed me. Yeah, there's a few in and around. It's going to be close. It's going to be interesting, and a lot will depend on the rankings. There will be a lot of women hoping that Fallon wins her first game on Friday in Amsterdam. Let's be honest.
No, a lot. I was about to say, is it a lot or is it all? Because I think it's all.
Well, apart from Lisa won't care. Lisa won't care. But everyone 3 and down. Lisa's already there. Look, she's at the match play already. She won't care about that.
I know, but you'd like to finish top. I'm guessing it's going to be. I'd like to think it's going to be first 1 plays 8, 2 plays 7.
I would guess so. Yeah, I don't know, but that would be logical. Yeah, there will be a lot hoping that Fallon wins on Friday.
Yeah. Is the aim of Fallon to play on Saturday if she's out on Friday? Or is it just the aim for Sunday?
No, the plan is that if she loses Friday, that she'll be there Saturday.
Makes sense.
And regardless of what happens, she'll be there on Sunday anyway. Evening weekly darts cast. Hope you are good. Yes, Phill, as long as the flights are on time, yes, she can make it. I don't think anything's confirmed, Matthew, for next year, but I think it is. Good question from Rob as well. We're going to round it off in a minute, but he says, question for you lads on the Euro Tour. Do you think it's easier to qualify for them now, 24 qualifiers instead of 8? Yeah, absolutely.
Without doubt. Was it 2 wins for some players?
2 wins and you're there. Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Weekly Darts class, fancy Robin and Kate to have good weekends. Yeah, I hope so. They've both really impressed me. I'd like to see them get to Blackpool 100% there. Right, Boise, pick your last one. Oh, well, actually, just come up there. James says, "Did you see the Dieter incident?" Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah,
and
I did.
And I'm sticking by my guns here because I said the same about Phil's. My issue is she stopped and looked.
Yeah.
If you just walk up to the board, and a lot of players do it, they don't actually look. They just walk up, and some of them are chatting to the marker or the referee if they know them well, and just take them out. Then I can kind of go with, if it's close or at a dodgy angle, maybe you're not sure. But I didn't like the fact she stopped and looked. I'm just being honest. Look, Dieter is a fabulous professional and has been throughout her career. But I just don't like the stop and look. And I said the same about Phil's against Dean Winstanley as well. It just doesn't look good.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And the second part of that, we haven't seen Dieter come out and say anything, so if she has. But what I see that they changed the result of that game to then give the game to, was it Ireland who was playing? Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland?
I don't know. Have they? I haven't. All I've seen is the video and the incident. I haven't seen any of the results or anything like that.
But what they've done is that game, Dieter's win made that. Someone will correct me, but what he did is Dieter's win was, I think it was made it 6-3. What they've done is they've gave them the points, so they've won 5-4, which for me makes no difference at all. The incident is the incident. The game has been told. The ref's told is final. If the player then hasn't corrected them at that point, it should have stayed as it is. I think it's a bit of a, we can say this now, we can change this result and give them the 1 point. No one should be winning the darts game without hitting a winning double. That works both ways, so that result shouldn't have then done the other way. I'm with you. The fact that the players looked at that, I don't think it's right.
Yeah, no, and I also agree with what you say there. The fact that it's been called game shot and it shouldn't be changed afterwards. I agree. Everyone, it's been an absolute pleasure keeping you. Dita's put a statement out on Facebook earlier today. All right, cool, mate. I haven't seen it, to be fair, because I was travelling home. But yeah, look, Dita's a wonderful person, fabulous professional. But I said the same about the great Phill Taylor when he did it, or so to speak, as well. I just don't like that stop and look. It just doesn't look great. But the live league returns tomorrow at 9:30. So make sure you are on board. Absolute pleasure. I've been Phill Bars, Lee Boyce with you as well. Live Lounge returns next Monday as well. Remember, Gob will be in Amsterdam as well for us this week for the Amsterdam Masters as the World Series continues. If you haven't yet, make sure you drop us a follow on all social platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And of course, if you haven't yet, why haven't you? Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to be making a short on YouTube for the competition. We've got to work it out how we're going to do it, but it will involve a YouTube short. So keep your eyes posted for that. That is us at Online Darts signing off for another week. It's been an absolute pleasure keeping you entertained, and we'll see you all next week.